thing is that the other thing that interests us a lot is to try and understand some of these the words that we are trying to use today, words like community or neighborhood or whatever. These are words that are trying to describe trying to describe the reality. Now, there was a reality that was of time past, and there's a reality of time present. The question there is that there were in conditions of what we understand time past to have been we have certain terms, certain metaphors, certain descriptions that we think elucidate or describe how interaction or how people inhabited and co-inhabited a space. But the problem is that contemporary life poses conundrums which are not perhaps as the same conundrums, which are not, definitely not the same conundrums which people must have faced earlier. I think people always face conundrums, even when it comes to the question of living together. It's never seamless. It's always a process in which you have to negotiate with each other, with structures, with spaces. And for us, what is interesting really is how does one understand contemporary conundrums of urban existence, and how does one understand, how does one make sense of them, and how do you phrase them or give them kind of words and meanings and context. So in a way, for us, the word community actually is not really a productive word profoundly, in a way, because what we try and understand is what are the dispositions by which people negotiate the conundrum. And I think by dispositions we're talking about things like sorry? Say? No. Sometimes it's two-headed. Dispositions, I mean, inventiveness is a disposition. How do you innovate on the everyday that you can survive the everyday? Or tenacity is another disposition, because if you're not tenacious in circumstances, and I think you get some hint of that in the description that we've just given. If you're not tenacious in an urban landscape that is not at all interested in your survival, then it is not possible to build ideas of community in that sense. And I think very profoundly this word has been mentioned before, the idea of solidarity. And how does one construct an idea of solidarity, and on what premises do we conduct the idea of solidarity? When we construct it, it's not something that is given. One argument that Howard made is that it emerges in a moment of crisis. And that's one kind of construction of solidarity that happens because of crisis. But one could also argue, not with you, not against you, but just to think this idea through, that the moment you bring a crisis, you are actually bringing in a regime of visibility that we have found sometimes after the moment of crisis in its kind of sharpness has passed, leads to the dismemberment of that community that happened because of the crisis at that point, because it is a response to the moment. So the question is that it's not an event. How does one construct solidarity? And these are the things that I think different people have different evocations of, and different urban landscapes would yield different stories. And that's, I think, what we're trying to do today is to explore a little bit more down that road. Preface to a ghost story. On leaving the nearest suitable abandoned building, somewhere midly, the unknown citizen hovers briefly, considering detours and the sour taste of regret. Downstairs, there is the car waiting. An old car with a new car smell, like an evergreen matinee idol. A quick getaway is possible, theoretically. But the moment that might have been is now over. None but a nearby company of superheroes has seen the descent or gauged its impact. A gathering of shadows assesses the situation on the ground. Bodies are fragile, easily broken. A scrap of paper, an explanation, sustains impact much better. Elsewhere, the unknown citizen's personal effects, a make-do archive as it were, await discovery. In the back, there are 5 photographs and the preface to a ghost story.
One of the other form by which kind of a long-term urban engagement is the idea of the incremental city, is that the city do not appear overnight, it grows over a long period of time, covered with great deal of inventiveness and negotiations and maneuvers. And this incremental city has its own internal architectural and design structures, which are what we are kind of trying to uncover over this period of time. But the most critical, important realization is that in the late 19th century, with the tailor coming in the industrial production, there was a separation between the engineer and the operation, that is the worker and the engineer, which is also the separation that brought the separation between the artist and the artisan. And this separation carried on into the 20th century, and with the industrialization of urban landscape, with this huge idea of the development of urban landscape, you have the separation of the planner and the architect and the population. And then both of them, like the engineers, both of them were subjugated. At the first panel it was very clear, subjugated by the very logic under which they were produced. And the logic is of constant redevelopment, development and production, the logic of speed and profitability, which does not keep operational the time needed for you to practice your craft. So you're kind of done away with, like the early artisan is done away with, or the worker artisan is kind of pushed away. Similarly, the architect and the forms of critical planning gets lost. So what we are interested is to build an understanding of the way incremental city builds and what is at conflict. When urban life collides, what is these two things that are at conflict? And yesterday on Anyang, our walk, it was very clear the kind of dense formation of urban life around different pockets, which definitely would not find its own vocabulary and a language to articulate the modern forms of design and planning, would find itself lost and redundant. So this form will be very interesting.
And we'll actually play you something that this is a fragment from a lecture by a friend of ours who is an urbanist. His name is Solomon Benjamin. Oh, that's not the one, that's another piece. His name is Solomon Benjamin, and he is now practicing in Bangalore, and he has been working for quite some time on the idea of the incremental city. I hope the sound output is working.
As an extension of the kind of theatre violence that we've seen, we soon get to what is commonly seen as a master plan or a plan. And my argument here is that such maps are instruments of erasure. These are erasures of the kind of territories that are there, which even in the map are under possession, but in reality are something else below there. Is this kind of hard lines that allocate space to information technology parks, or in other cases to technology and export promotion parks, that hides what is occupied space. In trying to understand this more accurately, we then get to trying to look at the way when land is occupied over time, and here we see a title of 1875, we find the listing of multiple claimants who have occupied space over time. This is an important point where property owners and property renters, the notion of property is much more fluid, it's much more dynamic, and you in fact have multiple occupants and land being transferred from one to another. This form of multiplicity reflected here in land records in 1990 soon finds that the competition in the way these are actually banned from use and made an offense in public interest.